It's later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Well, sure, that didn't take long. The Secret Service director resigned. Should have done that yesterday and saved everyone all the trouble. But no. You had to make me have bad memories of my own childhood and have everyone go to their respective rooms because of you, Kimberly Cheatle. Well, she has now resigned. And also, speaking of resignation, Senator Bob Menendez has promised to resign next month. We'll have that in just a moment. But I want to start here, as in Los Angeles. Do you remember once upon a time we had a mayor by the name of Antonio Villaraigosa? Roll your R's. Rolling writer. Antonio Villaraigosa used to be mayor here in Los Angeles. And I don't know if I told this story since I've been sitting in this chair at 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. And I know, Stephan, you don't know the story. And I know, Mark Ronner, you don't know the story.
I must hear it.
Once upon a time, there was a point where I was almost going to work for Antonio Villaraigosa. It was near the end of his mayoral term.
Did he require you to do that with the R's?
No.
Okay, please proceed.
Okay. But I was in the interview process for his communications department, and I had like 3 different interviews, and actually met with Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, and it was looking well. And then all of a sudden they realized that I had a public profile. Now, this is maybe 2010-ish, 2011, because it was 2011, because I just started working at KFI in a part-time capacity, making 4 cents an hour. That's important to the story. And then the mayor's office, I guess they were looking up my social media. They realized that I had a public presence. I had done some interviews with BBC, had a column, and they were asking me to take down all my public stuff, my Facebook page, all that kind of stuff. They were worried I was going to do something. And I had the job. And I said, well, and they wanted me to take down my website, MrMoKelly.com, which is still here to this day. It's under some renovations, but it just had just created it back then. And I said to the person who was interviewing me, who's the senior director of communications, I said, well, this is the 3rd interview in, and you didn't know that I had a public presence, and now you want me to take down all my stuff when you here in the office, there are like 3 different employees in the communications department that have, social media and Facebook pages. Long story short, they rescinded any type of job offer they were going to give me. They said, thanks, but no thanks. No hard feelings, because I was also working in KFI and I still wanted to work and possibly get on the radio one day. So, because that opportunity went away, this opportunity here began to flourish. And so for all the people who hate me, blame Antonio Villaraigosa. Just want to tell that story real quick.
I think you forgot to roll your R when you said rescinded. I think
rescinded.
Perfect. That's exactly right.
Rolling writer. Okay. Anyhow, but when I was interviewing with Antonio Villaraigosa, that was at the peak of his popularity. Love him or hate him. But at that time, and here's the point of the story, he was outwardly talking about, because it's near the end of his, I think it was 2nd term, going on to the governor's office. It was explicit that he was going to run for governor at some point. And he's been chasing after that since then. That's the point of the story. So when I read today that he has officially thrown his hat into the ring for, 2026 or whatever, it makes sense because he's always talked about it.
California is the state where anything is possible with hard work and determination. But our future depends on our willingness to face our biggest challenges. I'm Antonio Villaraigosa, and I believe we need a problem solver to lead our state. That's why I'm running for governor.
The 71-year-old ran for governor in 2018, but finished 3rd in the primary. He joins a pretty crowded field that includes Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis and Tony Thurmond.
I got to tell you, that's going to be the name primary. Can you pronounce everybody's name running for governor? Eleni Kounalakis, Antonio Villaraigosa. He didn't even roll his own name. I feel offended. For all that practicing I did, he did not roll his R's. Here's what he had to say in an interview with NBC4.
California.
Well, I'm sorry, that's the wrong file. Here we go.
I'm announcing my candidacy for governor of the state of California. As mayor of Los Angeles, as some of you know, when I became mayor, LA was one of the most violent big cities in America. And by the time I left, nearly a 50% drop in violent crime.
Is he saying because he left, the crime went down?
There was a reduction.
Well played. Go ahead and give it to him. Go ahead and give it to him. I'll wait.
And by the time I left, nearly a 50% drop
reduction
in violent crime. I was focused on the job, and I think what people are looking for right now is not talk, but problem solvers. People who are willing to unite us and not scream at the other side.
Can I get one more platitude, please? Just one more cliche.
To work on the challenges facing us.
How about one more? Just one more?
I think people are looking for someone who's going to work on those kinds of issues. When I was mayor, I wasn't afraid to tackle the big challenges. I said we'd make LA the cleanest, greenest big city in America. Number one, after 8 years, number one big city in reducing carbon emissions, number 5 in the world.
Okay. He said he was not afraid of tackling the big issues, I think he said.
I said we'd make LA the cleanest, greenest big city in America.
Well, that didn't happen. How about this?
Mayor, I wasn't afraid to tackle the big challenges.
I distinctly remember one of the big challenges was he said he was going to fill every pothole in Los Angeles. I remember that. I was here. I was living in LA when he said that. And not a damn pothole ever got filled because I rolled through them every single day. How can you become governor and say that you're going to tackle the big challenges and you can't even tackle the potholes in my own community? Antonio Villaraigosa.
I think he's trying to retcon his term.
As if there isn't YouTube in basic memory. It's later with Mo Kelly. KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. Let's talk about resignations when we come back.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Some people are going to be losing their jobs, resignations. They're leaving on their own accord. Wink, wink. They're resigning. And remember yesterday we were playing you some of the audio, which was very embarrassing for me as a secondhand experiencer of this congressional hearing. And I thought it could have ended after like the first, 15 minutes when Congresswoman Nancy Mace just asked the simple question. I thought the hearing should have been over.
Both sides of the aisle today have asked for your resignation. Would you like to use my 5 minutes to draft your resignation letter? Yes or no? No, thank you.
Wait a minute. We could have stopped right there. The show could have been over right there. She could have filled out her resignation, signed it, and walked her ass out of the congressional hearing room, and everybody would have been fine, and she would have kept some of her dignity. What's the point of hanging around and not answering the rest of the questions for the next 4 hours? Why? Why did we have to sit through Nancy Mace saying,
that's bull?
We didn't have to hear that. We heard Nancy Mace saying.
You're full of
we could have avoided all that. We could have just started at the beginning and just had her fill out her resignation in those first 5 minutes.
Both sides of the aisle today have asked for your resignation. Would you like to use my 5 minutes to draft your resignation letter? Yes or no? No, thank you.
Look, she could have said, Dear Congress, hi, my name is Kimberly. I did not do a good job, so let this letter serve as my official notification of my how do you spell resignation? R-E. Do you roll that R? Resignation. Is that T-I-O-N or S-H-U-N? Anyhow, I'm quitting. We could have done that, but no. We had to hear Nancy Mace cussing up a storm in the chambers.
That's bull.
No, that's inappropriate. That's what it was.
You're full of
Hey,
today.
Don't take it out on me. This doesn't have jack to do with me. Keep me out of it. All she had to do was resign. Anyhow, 24 hours later, Kimberly Cheatle is now the former Secret Service director. But that's not the only person who decided to end her professional career. Well, actually, Kimberly Cheatle will probably go into the private sector and make far more money than she made as the actual Secret Service director. She can, advise on security and how to F up
But can she?
Oh, yeah, she can't. No. She will get a job in the private sector. Someone will hire her to do security for, Kanye West or someone. Someone needs guarding. Someone needs these, some sort of protection. And as long as there's no one on the roof with a clear line of sight, they'll be okay.
That cuts Kanye out.
Democratic senator, who is not going to be senator for long, Bob Menendez, says that he's going to resign next month. You may remember, and if you don't, I'll remind you, Bob Menendez was found guilty on all 16 counts in a federal bribery and corruption trial. Do you know how hard it is to be convicted on 16 felonies? I haven't seen a politician convicted on 16 felonies since Donald Trump brought home 34. And that was pretty amazing. And if Bob Menendez is going to resign after 16 felonies, and Mark Runner, this is something we talked about. Remember, I was saying that Republicans don't resign? This is a perfect example. This is a perfect example. Republicans don't resign. Democrats fall on their sword.
You're exactly right.
Bob Menendez, 16 felonies, found guilty. He's resigning.
You might also want to put that in the context of Biden on Sunday.
What, is he getting convicted?
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
No, your point is taken. I was being silly. Yes, Biden bowed to pressure and he stepped aside, not for criminal reasons, but for political reasons. And if you want to compare apples to apples, speaking of Biden, Hunter Biden, same Justice Department, not a politician, but same Justice Department, found Bob Menendez and Hunter Biden guilty. You know, that Justice Department, which is corrupted by the Democrats and all about the Democrats. This is significant. Bob Menendez stepping down means that the Democrats do not have a senatorial majority for the last quarter of this year going into the election. It was a statistical tie with Vice President Kamala Harris being the tiebreaker. You lose Bob Menendez. What do you lose? Control of the Senate. That's huge. That's huge. Now, Bob Menendez could have said, F y'all, I am staying through the election. He could have, in the way that Donald Trump has said, F y'all, I'm still running for president. Let's compare apples to apples. The difference is Bob Menendez bowed to pressure within his party. How do I know this? Every Democratic senator, as well as every Democratic House member and other key elected officials in the state of New Jersey, said Menendez needed to resign. And he did. Now, I'm not saying that this is some glorious show of humanity or contrition, or he should be honored for stepping down. I am just highlighting the fact that he could have made it more politically advantageous for Democrats if he waited to resign, not in August, but decided after the election when it wouldn't have hurt the Democrats. This actually hurts the Democrats. Did he need to go? Absolutely. Am I glad that he resigned? Absolutely. I think there should be some standard of decency, some code of conduct. It's one thing if you're accused of something. It's one thing if you're charged with something. But after your ass is convicted on all charges, maybe you need to find something else to do.
He should have claimed witch hunt.
No, he did. He did. He actually did claim witch hunt. Huh? He claimed it was not political, but there were baseless charges of witch hunt.
No, he should have just stuck with the witch hunt. The witch hunt works.
No. It does not work all the time. Okay, you have to be a witch for them to hunt you.
You don't understand. Egypt forced all that money and the gold bars on him. He had to take it. He had to.
It's so funny. He was so guilty from the beginning. It wasn't even worth having a conversation. There was no reasonable doubt. It was only reasonable about how long the trial was going to take. Was it going to take 2 days or 2 weeks?
This is America. Did you expect him to be rude when somebody offered him that stuff? We believe in politeness in this country.
Look, I just needed Nancy Mace to ask Bob Menendez the question.
Both sides of the aisle today have asked for your resignation. Would you like to use my 5 minutes to draft your resignation letter, yes or no?
That's all we needed. That's all we needed. And we could have gotten to the heart of the matter. The difference is Bob would have said, no, I need another month. And then it'll be yes. Just a month. Just 30 days. Now, Donald Trump, on the other hand, ... It's later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app, and we have some strikes to tell you about. An Amazon strike, a Disneyland worker strike. Everybody's going on strike. Everybody's unhappy.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
So who is going on strike? Who has gone on strike now? Let's go to the Inland Empire. If you didn't already know, Amazon workers at a very important warehouse in Inland Empire. If you ever watched your Amazon packages make their way to you, there's a good chance that they started, or one of the stops along the way was this warehouse in the Inland Empire. It's a real important hub for Amazon, and Amazon workers walked off the job Sunday. They say that Amazon is engaging in unfair labor practices, and they're striking over alleged retaliation that they faced when they tried to unionize. And these workers are backed by the Teamsters Union, and the Teamsters had this to say, quote, "The workers now on strike have the full support of more than 1 million Teamsters nationwide. Amazon has no respect for the well-being of the workers who make its profits possible. And San Bernardino workers have sent a clear message to these corporate criminals that they've had enough," close quote. I can't speak to the work environment for Amazon. I can say that these stories have been similar and pervasive for years as to the alleged mistreatment and demands of employees. The stories that I've heard from a number of people who did work for Amazon as far as having to urinate in bottles trying to keep up with the delivery rate. Don't get me wrong. Thank you for getting my Amazon packages to me, but I know it does come at some human capital cost. I know that what they are asking of their employees is a lot. I don't know how much they're being paid, but I know that Amazon, the company, the corporation, and many corporations have done this. They have been working against employees trying to unionize for a number of reasons. They lose their leverage over their workforce. Where this is going to go, I don't know, but I'm not surprised when you have a multi-billion-dollar multinational corporation like Amazon and you don't have unionized employees. Well, it's inevitable that it's going to happen eventually. For example, like Disneyland. Disneyland workers vote overwhelmingly to authorize a strike. And did you know that Disneyland employees haven't staged a major walkout since 1984? Not in 40 years. And you would think, how is that possible, given that until recently, most of the employees weren't unionized, or a fair number of them were not unionized. Members of the Master Services Council, an alliance of unions representing custodians, ride operators, candy makers, merchandise clerks, and other Disneyland employees, on Friday voted 99% in support of a walkout. And as a result, union leaders now have the option to call a strike if they are unable to negotiate a new contract with Disney. We've heard other issues with Disney as far as their actors, performers wanting to unionize. And you would think a corporation the size of Disney, just about everybody working in that place would be either unionized or, I know this is a union which is overwhelmingly voting to authorize a strike, but I'm surprised that there's anyone working within the Disney matrix which is not under a union.
See, it's interesting because this appears to just be in California, because in Florida,
yes, it's just Disneyland.
Yes, just Disneyland. I think this is a California thing because of last time we discussed this. I believe Florida is unionized, and that's why the strike is not impacting Disney World or any of the other Disney properties around the world.
We talked about this, how Disney World, as far as their performers, characters, artists, dancers, they were already unionized at Disney World decades ago.
Yeah.
They weren't unionized here, Disneyland. And this, again, these workers are unionized. We're talking about custodians, ride operators, candy makers, the people who work in the park.
Mm-hmm.
They're unionized, but they hadn't gone on strike, but they've been having issues for quite some time. But it's only here. It's only here. I can't speak to why it's different in Florida, but it's fair to note that these problems are not happening in Florida. You would think it's one umbrella union for the corporation. Because, like with Amazon, going back to the Amazon story, it's Teamsters. It's national. It's national. It's all these types of employees under the umbrella of an aegis of the Teamsters. I don't understand why it's separated or segmented, where Disneyland is under this particular union contract and Disney World is under that particular union contract. I don't know.
Mo, do you think it would be good for morale or negatively impact morale for the Amazon workers if their pee bottles were shaped like Jeff Bezos' spacecraft?
Ooh. Well, Jeff Bezos' spacecraft, to seriously ponder your question, is shaped in a way which would not be a receptacle, but it would be a dispensary.
I see. I mean, as tastefully as you put that, I think I can read between the lines.
So it would be not accurate to have a receptacle shaped in the way of Blue Origin. Is that the name of the company?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, the problems with Amazon have been discussed and theorized for years at this point. It's at a breaking point, just like the problems with Uber. When you have these companies which are just growing into just uncontrollable monsters, my term, you can't keep taking advantage of its labor force. If you can't treat them like respected employees, well, then they're going to unionize, then they're going to revolt, then they're going to strike, and they're going to bring that company back down to earth. See Tesla, for example. That's another company which is having all sorts of labor issues, separate and distinct from the behavior of Elon Musk, and it's negatively affecting the stock price right about now, if I'm not mistaken.
He does, as much as he's touted as some sort of brilliant visionary businessman, he does kind of have the Midas poo touch on a few things lately, doesn't he?
Well, since we're here, remember yesterday, Mark, I was saying, hey, the behavior of the CEO can impact the company, the perception of the company, whether people will support the company. If I'm not mistaken, they had a real bad stock day today. Tesla did.
I'll have to look this up to confirm, but the last I read before I came into the office today was that it was down something like 45%.
And we all know that no one tells Elon Musk what to do. Can we agree on that? No one tells Elon what to do. He's a man of free speech. He does whatever he wants, and be damned anyone who's going to tell him otherwise. He also announced today that he was not actually going to donate $45 million per month to the Trump campaign.
You're lying.
Oops.
No, he said that he released a statement, and I don't believe he would have said it originally unless he meant it, because that's something, of course, is going to be picked up by the news, and then he would have to double back a few days later. The only thing that I could attribute it to is how Tesla is taking a bath right now in a stock sense.
Well, surely a man of that intellectual heft and magnitude must have important reasons for doing what he's doing. But I was just wondering if people were making the connection, and eventually Mr. Musk made the connection, that he's going to support a person who really isn't into electric cars at all.
No.
And Musk happens to be running an electric car company.
No, he meant $45 a month.
That's
what he can afford.
What is this with this whole? Isn't that like he paid like $44 billion for Twitter, right?
Yep.
And he's like promising $43 million to something. He has like it's all in that same area.
Weird thing with him.
All I'm saying is you can't separate the two. His public pronouncements are impacting his businesses. They just are. They've killed the advertising revenue for Twitter/X, and now it's really hurting Tesla. You can't blame anybody except the figurehead, the person at the top who is making all these announcements and these political statements and also controversial social statements about trans athletes, what have you, and it's coming back to bite him and his companies.
So you're saying you saw the clip of him and Jordan Peterson complaining about his trans daughter?
Yeah, who's, I guess, dead to him now. He said something along those lines.
Spoken like a true father.
No, he said something like, child's dead because of the woke mind virus.
Yeah.
I'm not quoting him, but it was something to that. It's the latest in a lot of comments.
To giving my daughter or my son treatment, and it's the woke mob's fault.
And there's nothing wrong with him saying that. I'm not making a value judgment about what he said. I'm saying that there are consequences to speech. Free speech does not mean there won't be social consequences, that there won't be capitalism consequences, that you won't suffer financially, given that you want other people's money. That's all I'm saying.
You're trying to suggest that oligarchs with more money than humanity can just walk around and act like Caligula all the time? With no consequences?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying there is no such thing as cancel culture. It's capitalism. And capitalism has a say in free speech as well.
Interesting.
It's later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Now, right back to you, Mark Ronner, in the KFI 24-hour news run.
Former LA Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa. I forgot to roll the R if you want to do it for me.
Via?
Yes.
Think of rye bread.
I can't do it.
I'm just saying. Villaraigosa.
Okay.
Villaraigosa.
All right, let me reset here.
Okay, start over.
Former LA Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa is running for California governor again. The 71-year-old political consultant ran for governor in 2018, but finished third in that primary.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
I just want to throw in a couple of notes this last segment before we end the hour. I usually read Jonathan Lansner, a columnist in the Orange County Register. He usually follows trends in the Southland. He'll look at unemployment, hiring trends, just what's going on regionally. And he had this stunning revelation about hiring and unemployment as it relates to fast food. And we've talked here on this show about how the rising minimum wage has had a mixed bag of results on the fast food industry, talking about minimum wage going up to $20 per hour. And you would think, or at least the assumption was made, that the fast food industry, higher prices, people are going to be laid off, there are going to be fewer hours for those employees. But according to Jonathan Lansner in the Orange County Register, that has not been the case. Despite business owner threats that they'd have to halt hiring or even cut staff, according to the article, job stats show that fast food employment rose by 400 in June and is up 7,600 since March, just before the wage hike. Plus, staffing's up 3,000 in the past year. Talking about McDonald's, that's usually the benchmark for all of these things, announced that it's extending its $5 value meal promotion due to high demand for affordable fast food amid inflation. So if you're working in fast food, or at least the franchise owners, they're hiring more people. They're not laying off workers. And in fact, they're not cutting hours. This is according to Jonathan Lansner of the Orange County Register. I don't know what to make of it. I'm just going off of what is being reported.
I would just like for McDonald's to hire employees that understand when someone orders six ranch dressings, that they put 6 ranch dressings in the bag. I didn't ask for the ranch dressings because I just felt like asking for 6 ranch dressings. I asked for them and I said, if you could please include those in the order to make sure that I get them.
That's bull.
No, I am so serious.
You're full of today.
Okay, I can't.
I need you to turn in your resignation, Twala.
Both sides of the aisle today have asked for your resignation. Would you like to use my 5 minutes to draft your resignation letter? Yes or no?
Honestly, I don't know what to ascribe the increase in hiring and also the expansion of fast food workforce, irrespective of the increase in minimum wage. I don't know what to say.
I bet if we used all our combined brain power, we could come up with an explanation.
All right. What do you theorize is the reason?
That the people whining about paying people a minimum wage that they could live on may have been wrong.
I think it's this. These businesses most likely are skeleton crews. They don't have a lot of employees. And if you are making it where you're going to lay off employees or you're not going to be able to give them enough hours, then you're hurting your own business interests. You still need employees. These are not completely automated places. You still need someone to mop the floors. You still need someone to man, quote unquote, the fries. You still need someone on some level in these restaurants making the food, putting the burgers together. They have a computerized automated burger flipper, but they don't have someone who's actually doing the burgers. They're not completely automated. They still need that human work element.
Sure, but we already know that other fast food places around the world pay a competitive living wage, and their prices did not shoot up like all the cranks in the United States claimed ours would and have not.
Mark.
And when we saw that it was largely because of price gouging that the prices went up, they saw that customers weren't going to accept that, and so they lowered the prices.
Mark, let me just put it this way.
Please.
You're full of today.
Thank you for that. Full of French fries?
That's not the American way. 32 of 33 developed nations have universal health care. Okay.
Oh, you're going to play the old health care card.
No, but my point is
look at the
we
time.
don't do what other nations do.
Well, that's American exceptionalism, which apparently involves a lot of struggling and possible starvation.
You hate America.
That's bull.
How dare you, sir? How dare you?
KFI AM 640, we're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
KFI is literally the KFI of talk radio. KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live